the code now!
Fuck you!
The bullet entered Choi Deho's kneecap at exactly the angle Min-jun had taught her. Alicia watched him crumple, his scream raw and guttural, and felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Her hand remained steady on the gun, a Glock 19, the same model she'd trained with for 2 weeks straight until her fingers cramped and Min-jun had to physically pry it from her grip. The same gun that now felt like an extension of her will. "The code," she said again, voice flat. "Now." Choi's face was twisted in agony, sweat pouring down his temples. Behind him, through the penthouse's floor-to-ceiling windows, dawn was breaking over the city, pink and gold lights spilling across a world that had no idea what was happening 43 floors above it. What had already happened in the floors below, where Min-jun had carved a path through Choi's men like they were nothing more than obstacles between him and this moment. Min-jun stood 3 feet behind her, blood splattered and breathing hard. Not his blood, never his blood. He'd walked through the building like death itself, methodical and merciless, and now he watched her with an expression she couldn't read. Pride, maybe, or fear, or both. "Fuck you," Choi spat, but his voice was shaking. Alicia shifted her aim to his other knee. Wrong answer. The second shot was easier than the first. 2 weeks earlier, the training room had been suffocating with a different kind of tension. "Again," Min-jun said, circling her like a predator. "And this time don't think, just react." Alicia's muscles were screaming. They'd been at this for 3 hours, hand-to-hand combat, weapons training, tactical response drills, and her body was beginning to understand what her mind had known from the moment she'd watched her uncle die on that tablet screen. This was no longer about survival. This was about vengeance. She lunged. Min-jun sidestepped, caught her wrist, twisted. She dropped low the way he'd taught her, used his momentum, broke free. Her elbow came up toward his throat, stopped an inch away by his hand. "Better," his voice was rough. "But in a real fight, I'd have already killed you twice. Then stop pulling your punches and fight me like you would anyone else." Something flickered across his face. "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't want to hurt you." He released her wrist, stepped back. "I want to teach you to survive without me." "That's not the same thing as teaching me to fight." "I know," his jaw tightened. "But I won't be the one who stains your hands with blood. That darkness is mine, not yours." Alicia grabbed a water bottle, her hands shaking with exhaustion and frustration. They'd been having this same argument in different forms for days. He wanted her trained. He wanted her capable. But he didn't want her involved. Wanted her to be able to escape, to survive, to live, but not to fight beside him. "My hands are already stained," she said quietly. "I watched my uncle die. I've seen what these people do. I killed Choi's man with a broken bottle before you even got there. That was survival. This is different." "Is it?" She turned to face him fully. "You promised me I could be there when you killed Choi. Were you lying?" "No, but being there and participating are different things." "Then what am I supposed to do? Stand behind you and watch?" "Yes," the word was final. "You stay behind me, always. That's non-negotiable." Before she could argue, Jin appeared in the doorway. His expression was grim. "Sir, we have a problem." The problem was Maria. Alicia stared at the video on Jin's tablet, her stomach turning to ice. Maria, who used to bring her extra coffee on long shifts, who'd covered for her when she'd been late, who'd treated her like a daughter, tied to a chair in what looked like a basement. Her face was bruised, lips split, eyes wide with terror. "Alicia," Maria's voice cracked. "Is that you? Please, I don't understand what's happening." The video cut to black. Then Choi's voice, smooth and cold. "You have 48 hours to replace yourself. Come to the address I'll send alone or she dies screaming. And Alicia, I'll make you watch." Min-jun's hand came down on the tablet so hard the screen cracked. "No," he said before Alicia could even speak. "Absolutely not. You're not trading yourself for her. She's innocent. She doesn't deserve this." "Neither did you. Neither did any of the women he's taken, but I'm not letting you walk into his hands to save one person. His voice was hard, controlled fury barely leashed. We'll get her back another way. How? I'll send a team, we'll extract her. And if she's already dead by the time they get there? Then she's dead, but you're alive. That's the only thing that matters to me. The words were brutal, honest. Alicia knew he meant them, knew that in his calculation one life, even an innocent one, wasn't worth risking hers. And part of her, the part that had learned to survive in his world, understood that calculation. But the rest of her remembered Maria's kindness, remembered being new to the cleaning company, lost and grieving her mother, and Maria taking her under her wing, teaching her the roots, sharing lunch, asking about her day like she actually cared. Please, Alicia said, at least try, she's suffering because of me. Min-jun looked at her for a long moment. Then he turned to Jin. Assemble a team. I want full tactical. We go in fast, extract the target, leave nothing standing. Sir, Jin nodded and left. When they were alone, Min-jun pulled Alicia against him. I'll get her back, but you stay here with guards. You don't leave this building. I know. I mean it, Alicia. You don't go to the window. You don't answer the door. You don't trust anyone except Jin and me. I understand. He tilted her chin up, forced her to meet his eyes. If something happens to me. Don't. If something happens, Jin has instructions. Money, passports, everything you need to disappear. Switzerland. You go to Switzerland and you never look back. Min-jun. Promise me. She wanted to argue, wanted to tell him nothing would happen, that he'd come back like he always did. But the fear in his eyes stopped her. I promise. He kissed her then, deep, possessive, desperate, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. I'll be back in 3 hours. Don't do anything stupid. I could say the same to you. I'm always stupid when it comes to you, a ghost of a smile, that's the problem. He left. Alicia watched from the window, 43 floors up, but she could still see the convoy of black SUVs pulling away. 6 vehicles, 20 men, all of them willing to die on Min-jun's command. All of them going to save a woman because Alicia had asked. The weight of that settled heavy in her chest. They brought Maria back 4 hours later. Alicia was waiting when the elevator opened. The medical team rushed past her with a gurney, and she caught a glimpse of Maria's face, unconscious, bruised beyond recognition, an IV already running. Alive, but barely. Jin caught her arm before she could follow. Let the doctors work. What happened to her? His expression said everything. She'll need time, a lot of time, maybe never fully recover. Did they? Alicia couldn't finish the question. We don't know. She wasn't conscious when we found her, but based on the state of her clothes, the bruising, he trailed off. It's likely. The room spun. Alicia grabbed the wall for support. This was what she'd been saved from. This was what her uncle had sold her into. This was the reality that Min-jun's intervention, Min-jun's violence, Min-jun's protection, had spared her from experiencing. And Maria had suffered it in her place. Where's Min-jun? Cleaning up, he'll be back soon. Alicia nodded numbly and made her way to the bedroom. She needed to shower, to change, to do something other than stand there imagining what Maria had endured. But when she got to the bathroom, she found herself on the floor instead, back against the tile, crying silently into her knees. She didn't hear Min-jun come in. Didn't realize he was there until his arms came around her, pulling her into his lap. I've got you, he murmured against her hair. You're safe. She's not. No, but she's alive. That's more than most people Choi takes. Is that supposed to make me feel better? No, nothing's supposed to make you feel better right now. You're supposed to feel exactly this terrible because what happened to her is terrible. But you're also supposed to remember that you didn't cause this. Choi did, and we're going to make him pay for every second of her suffering. Alicia turned in his arms, buried her face against his neck. He smelled like gunpowder and blood, and something darker she didn't want to identify. But underneath it all was the scent that had become familiar, almost comforting, his cologne mixed with something uniquely him. "I want to kill him myself," she whispered. "I know. I want to watch him beg. I know. I want," her voice broke. "I want to hurt him the way he hurt her, hurt everyone." Minjun's arms tightened around her. "Then we will, together, but first you need to breathe, you need to rest. Tomorrow we plan. Tonight you're allowed to fall apart." "I don't want to fall apart." "Too late." His hand stroked through her hair, gentle despite the violence those same hands had committed hours ago. "You're already breaking. Let me catch the pieces." So she did. Let herself cry against him. Let herself shake and rage and grieve for a woman who'd been kind to her once. Let herself feel the full weight of what it meant to be connected to Minjun's world, where innocent people became collateral damage and revenge was the only form of justice available. Eventually, her tears ran dry. Minjun carried her to the bed. She didn't protest, too exhausted to do anything but let him take care of her. He laid her down, started to pull away, but she caught his wrist. "Stay. I need to shower. I'm covered in." "I don't care, stay." He hesitated, then climbed into bed beside her, fully clothed, blood-stained and all, pulled her against his chest and held her like she was something precious, something worth protecting. "I'm sorry," he said after a long silence. "For what?" "For bringing you into this world. For not being able to protect everyone you care about. For not being able to give you the normal life your mother wanted for you." Alicia shifted to look at him. In the dim light, his face was all sharp angles and shadows, but his eyes were soft, vulnerable in a way she rarely saw. "My mother spent 20 years running from the consequences of saving you," she said. "She died still running. I'm done running. Whatever this world is, whatever darkness comes with you, I'd rather face it than spend my life hiding from it. You say that now, but when this is over, when you've seen what I'm capable of, what I'm willing to do, you might change your mind. Try me." Something shifted in his expression, heat replacing vulnerability. His hand came up to cup her face, thumb brushing across her lower lip. "You have no idea what you're offering." "Then show me." He kissed her, not gentle this time, claiming, possessive, full of the violence he'd been holding back. His hand fisted in her hair, angling her head exactly where he wanted it, and Alicia kissed him back with equal intensity, poured every ounce of her grief and rage and need into it. They were both covered in the aftermath of violence, both carrying the weight of what they'd seen, what they knew was coming. But in this moment, tangled together in the dark, they were also just two people desperate for connection, for proof they were still alive, still capable of feeling something other than anger. Minjun's hands moved over her body with practiced efficiency, stripping away barriers, mapping territory he'd claimed weeks ago but still approached like it was new, precious, his. "Mine," he murmured against her throat, teeth grazing her pulse. "Say it." "Yours," the word came out breathless. "I'm yours. And I'm keeping you, no matter what it costs, no matter who I have to kill." It should have scared her, that declaration, the absolute certainty in his voice that he'd burn the world down to keep her safe, but instead it made her feel powerful, cherished, like she was worth the violence he was capable of. He took her apart slowly, thoroughly, every touch a reminder that despite everything, despite the age gap, despite the circumstances that had brought them together, despite the blood on his hands, what was between them was real. Not just the debt to her mother, not just protection, but something deeper, more dangerous. Afterward they lay tangled together, sweat-slicked and breathing hard. Minjun's hand rested on her hip, possessive even in the aftermath. "Tomorrow," he said, "we start planning Choi's destruction. Jin's already gathering intelligence on his operations. We'll hit them systematically, dismantle everything he's built before we go for him directly. How long will that take? 2 weeks, maybe 3. It needs to be thorough. No loose ends, no chance for retaliation. And me, what's my role in all this? His hand tightened on her hip. You stay safe. You coordinate from here, manage intelligence, help with planning, but you don't go into the field. Min-jun. This isn't negotiable. I won't risk you. You promised I could be there when you kill him. And you will be, but they're means protected, surrounded by guards far from the actual fighting. You watch, you don't participate. Alicia wanted to argue, but exhaustion was pulling at her, and she knew from experience that arguing with Min-jun when he'd made up his mind was pointless. Better to agree now and negotiate specifics later. Okay, she said, and felt him relax against her. Okay, he echoed, clearly not believing her easy capitulation but too tired to press. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, both knowing that tomorrow would bring them one step closer to the war that would either end with Choi's death or their own. The war room had been transformed. Maps covered every wall, locations of Choi's operations, trafficking routes, money laundering fronts, weapons depots. Red pins marked targets. Blue pins marked assets they'd already neutralized. Black pins marked casualties. There were a lot of black pins. Min-jun stood at the head of the table, Jin at his right. 5 key lieutenants arranged around the perimeter. Alicia sat in the corner, notebook open, ostensibly taking notes but mostly just watching the men dissect Choi's empire with the same clinical precision a surgeon might use to plan an amputation. The shipping warehouse goes first, Min-jun said, pointing to a location on the waterfront. It's his primary trafficking hub. Estimates suggest 40 to 50 women are held there at any given time. Rescue operation, Lieutenant Kim asked. Extraction and destruction. We get the women out, burn the building to the ground, send a message that his merchandise isn't safe anywhere. He'll retaliate. Let him. Every move he makes exposes more of his operation. We want him angry, reckless. Angry men make mistakes. Jin pulled up surveillance footage on the tablet. Security is heavy. 20 guards minimum, rotating shifts. They'll be expecting an assault after what happened with Maria. Good, we give them one. Full frontal assault, overwhelming force. We're not sneaking in, we're announcing ourselves. The plan came together with ruthless efficiency. Teams assigned, weapons distributed, timelines established. Alicia listened to them discuss the assault like it was a business transaction. Casualties expected but acceptable, collateral damage minimized but inevitable. This was Min-jun's world. Cold calculation dressed up in tactical language, but underneath it all, just violence answering violence. What about Alicia? Lieutenant Kim asked, glancing her way. Does she participate? Every eye in the room turned to her. Alicia straightened in her chair, met Min-jun's gaze directly. She coordinates from a secure location, Min-jun said. Communications van, 3 blocks away, full security detail. I could, Alicia started. No, the word was flat, final. You could stay even further away, but I'm compromising by letting you be nearby. Don't push. She bit back her argument, saw Jin's subtle head shake, understood that this was as much as she'd get, at least for now. The meeting continued. More targets identified, more operations planned. By the time they finished, they had a comprehensive strategy to dismantle Choi's empire over the next 2 weeks. Surgical strikes, each one designed to weaken his infrastructure while driving him toward increasingly desperate responses. He'll turtle up, Jin observed. Pull back to his main compound, surround himself with heavy security. Let him, the compound is where we want him anyway. Min-jun's smile was cold. Let him think he's safe behind his walls. It'll make the final assault all the sweeter. As the lieutenants filed out, Alicia approached the table. Studied the maps, the pins, the evidence of the war about to unfold. "You're really going to destroy all of this," she said. "His entire organization." "Yes." "How many people will die?" "His people, as many as necessary, mine, as few as possible." Minjun glanced at her. "Does that bother you?" "Should it?" "Most people would say yes, that violence is never the answer, that there's always another way." His expression was unreadable. "But you've seen what Choi does. You've seen Maria. You know there is no other way to stop men like him. So we become just as brutal." "No, we become more brutal. We become so terrifying that no one ever thinks to touch what's ours again." The possessive was deliberate. Alicia was his. Everyone in this building knew it. Everyone in the criminal underworld would soon know it. And that possessiveness, that claim, was both her protection and her prison. "When does it start?" she asked. "Tomorrow night, the warehouse assault. We hit them at 2 a.m. when security is lightest. And I'll be in the communications van. 3 blocks away. Jin will be with you. 6 guards, armored vehicle, every precaution." "Sounds like you've thought of everything." "I always do when it comes to you." He moved closer, his hand coming up to trace her jawline. "I can't lose you, Alicia. Not to Choi, not to this war, not to anything. So yes, I've thought of everything. And I'll keep thinking of everything until this is over and you're safe. And after, when Choi's dead and his organization is destroyed, what then? Then we figure out what normal looks like for us, if that's even possible." She leaned into his touch. "I don't think normal is in our future." "No, probably not." His thumb brushed across her lower lip. "But maybe we can find something better." The warehouse assault was textbook. Alicia watched from the communications van, headset on, listening to the team's check-ins as they moved into position. The van was parked exactly 3 blocks away, just like Minjun had promised. Jin sat beside her, monitoring feeds from 6 different cameras. The guards were positioned outside, weapons ready. She felt useless. "Team Alpha in position," Minjun's voice came through her headset. Calm, controlled, like he was commenting on the weather, not preparing to storm a building full of armed traffickers. "Team Bravo in position," Lieutenant Kim reported. "Team Charlie in position." Jin keyed his mic. "All teams green. You'll go on your count, sir." Alicia watched the camera feeds. Saw the teams moving like shadows, precise and coordinated. Saw the moment Minjun gave the signal, a simple hand gesture, and they breached. The building erupted. Gunfire on the audio feed, too loud and chaotic for her to distinguish individual shots, shouting in Korean and English, screams from the women inside. The cameras showed flashes of movement, Minjun's team moving through the warehouse with brutal efficiency, neutralizing guards, herding captives toward the exits. "Contact East Corridor," someone shouted, more gunfire. "Team Charlie, you've got reinforcements coming from the north entrance." "Copy that, moving to intercept." Alicia's hands were clenched so tight her nails dug into her palms. She wanted to be there, wanted to see it firsthand instead of through cameras and audio feeds. But more than that, she wanted Minjun to be safe, wanted this to be over. "Hostiles neutralized, 1st floor clear," Minjun reported, moving to 2nd floor. The assault took 18 minutes. When it was over, 47 women had been extracted. 15 of Choi's men were dead. 2 of Minjun's team had minor injuries, 1 gunshot graze, 1 knife wound, both already bandaged and walking. And the warehouse was burning. Alicia watched the flames on the camera feed, orange and hungry against the night sky. Smoke billowing up, visible even from 3 blocks away. Evidence destroyed. Message sent. "All teams extract," Minjun ordered. "Package secure, mission accomplished." They returned to the van in waves, blood-spattered, exhausted but alive. Minjun was the last one back, and when he climbed into the van, his eyes found Alicia immediately. "You okay?" she asked. "Fine, you." Frustrated but safe. He pulled off his tactical vest, his shirt underneath soaked with sweat and someone else's blood. "Good, that's the point. Safe is all that matters." Jin was already on the phone coordinating transport for the rescued women. Safe houses, medical care, everything they'd need. Some would go home. Some had no homes to return to. All of them would need time to heal from what they'd endured. "Choi's going to retaliate," Lieutenant Kim said. "This was a major hit. He can't let it go unanswered." "Let him come." Minjun's voice was ice. "Every move he makes exposes him further. We're 3 steps ahead already." They drove back to the safe house in convoy. Alicia sat beside Minjun, his hand on her thigh, possessive and grounding. She could feel the tension radiating off him, post-combat adrenaline mixed with the constant vigilance that defined his existence. "You were magnificent," she said quietly. He glanced at her. "I was efficient." "Same thing." "No, magnificent implies artistry. I'm just good at killing." "Don't do that. Don't diminish what you are." "And what am I?" "Dangerous, protective, capable of extreme violence in service of what you care about." She squeezed his hand. "You saved 47 women tonight. That's not nothing." "I killed 15 men tonight. That's not nothing either." They chose their side. They knew what they were signing up for. Did they, or were they just trying to survive same as anyone else? His jaw tightened. "I don't lose sleep over the men I kill, but I also don't pretend they're monsters. They're just people who made different choices. Bad choices, but choices nonetheless." It was the most philosophical she'd ever heard him. Usually Minjun was practical, tactical, focused entirely on results rather than ethics. But tonight, with the smell of smoke still in his clothes and blood under his fingernails, he was allowing himself to be human. "To doubt." "You're not having second thoughts, are you?" Alicia asked. "About destroying Choi? No, about whether it makes me a good man. That ship sailed 25 years ago." "You're good to me." "That's different." "Is it?" He looked at her fully then. "Yes, because you're mine, and I protect what's mine with everything I have. But that doesn't make me good, it just makes me possessive." "I'll take it." His expression softened. "You shouldn't. You should want someone better, someone who didn't pull you into this darkness." "You didn't pull me in. My uncle threw me in. You just caught me before I drowned. And now you're drowning in a different way." "No," she shifted closer, her hand finding his cheek. "Now I'm swimming. There's a difference." He kissed her then, right there in the SUV with Jin driving and guards in the vehicle ahead and behind. Kissed her like she was air and he'd been suffocating. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "2 more strikes," he murmured. "Then we go after Choi directly. 2 more operations and this is over. Unless something goes wrong." "Nothing will go wrong." "You can't promise that." "Watch me." The second strike was 3 days later. A money laundering front disguised as a legitimate import-export business. Alicia was supposed to stay in the communications van again, same as before. She didn't. The operation had been running smoothly. Team Alpha had breached, Team Bravo was securing the perimeter, Team Charlie was extracting financial records, everything according to plan. But then Lieutenant Kim's voice came through the headset tense. "We've got a problem. Guard in the back office holding civilians at gunpoint. 2 employees, both women. He's threatening to kill them if we advance." Jin immediately radioed Minjun. "Sir, civilian hostage situation in the back office." "Copy, I'm moving to intercept." A pause. "Get me a clear shot and I'll take him down." But Alicia had already seen the camera feed, had already seen that the guard's position made a clean shot impossible. Minjun would have to enter the room to neutralize him, and that meant the hostages would be in the line of fire. She made a decision. slipped out of the communications van while Jin was focused on the feeds, moved quickly through the perimeter. The guards outside were watching for external threats, not for her leaving. Made it to the building, slipped in through a side entrance the teams had already cleared. The building was chaos. Alarms blaring, guards shouting, Minjun's men moving through like a coordinated machine. She stayed low, moved fast, found the back hallway that led to the office. The guard had his back to the door. The two women, one older, maybe 50, one younger, early 20s, were huddled against the wall, crying. The guard was shouting in Korean, waving his gun between them and the door. Alicia pulled the knife from her belt. Minjun had taught her this. Close quarters, silent takedown, no margin for error. She'd practiced it 100 times in the training room. Never on a living person. She moved through the doorway, silent, fast. The guard didn't hear her until she was already behind him. The knife went into his shoulder, not fatal but debilitating. He screamed, dropped the gun. Alicia kicked it away, then brought the knife around to his throat. "Don't move," she said in English, hoping he understood. He froze. The door crashed open. Minjun stood there, gun raised, taking in the scene in an instant. Alicia with a knife to the guard's throat. The hostages safe against the wall, blood on her hands. His face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Relief, fury, something darker she couldn't identify. "Lieutenant Kim, secure these civilians," he said, voice deadly calm. "Get them to safety." Kim appeared, quickly ushered the two women out. The guard in Alicia's grip was still bleeding, groaning in pain. She didn't let go. Minjun crossed to her, his movements predator slow. "Give me the knife." He was going to kill them. "I know, give me the knife." She handed it over. The moment her grip loosened, Minjun pulled her away from the guard, handed the man off to one of his team. Then he grabbed Alicia's arm and hauled her out of the building, his grip just this side of painful. They made it to an alley before he exploded. "What the fuck were you thinking?" His voice was low, controlled, which made it more terrifying than if he'd shouted. "You left the communications van. You entered an active combat zone. You put yourself in direct danger. Explain." He was going to kill those women. That's not an explanation. That's not even close to an explanation. "I saw the camera feeds. You couldn't get a clean shot. I could get behind him, so I did." "You could have been killed." "But I wasn't." "That's not the fucking point." His control cracked. "You could have been shot, stabbed, taken hostage, used as leverage against me. Do you understand what would have happened if he'd grabbed you instead of you getting the drop on him?" "But he didn't." "Because you got lucky, because you're skilled enough that it worked this one time. But luck runs out, Alicia. Skill fails. And if something had happened to you," he stopped, his hands clenching into fists at his sides. "I can't protect you if you won't protect yourself. I saved 2 lives tonight. And you risked the only life that matters to me." The words hung between them, raw, honest, unfiltered. Alicia stepped closer despite the fury radiating off him. "You can't keep me locked away forever. I'm part of this now, whether you like it or not. I can and I will. You're mine to protect. That's non-negotiable. Then stop treating me like I'm fragile. I'm not. You've trained me, tested me, pushed me to my limits. You know what I'm capable of. Trust that." "I do trust it. I don't trust the men we're fighting to show you mercy just because you're capable. They won't show me mercy because I'm your wife, which means I'm already a target whether I'm in that van or in the field. At least let me be useful." Minjun stared at her, jaw working. She could see the war happening behind his eyes, the part of him that wanted to lock her away forever versus the part that recognized she had a point. Finally, he pulled her against him, hard, almost brutal. His hand fisted in her hair, his mouth found hers, and the kiss was pure possession, claiming, reminding her and himself and anyone watching that she was his. When he finally pulled back, His eyes were dark with something between fury and desire. You disobeyed me. Yes. That's unacceptable. Are you going to punish me? Yes. His hand tightened in her hair. But not here. Not now. When we get back to the safe house, I'm going to make sure you understand exactly what happens when you put yourself in danger. Heat pooled low in her stomach. Promises, promises. Don't test me right now. I'm barely holding on to my control as it is. Maybe I want you to lose control. His laugh was dark. Careful what you wish for. They made it back to the safe house in record time. The moment they were through the door, Min-jun pulled her toward the bedroom, his grip firm on her wrist. Jin took one look at them and very deliberately found somewhere else to be. The bedroom door closed, locked. Min-jun spun her around, backed her against the wall. His body pinned hers, one hand still fisted in her hair, the other gripping her hip hard enough to bruise. You scared me tonight, he said, his voice rough. You made me imagine a world where I lost you, and that's unacceptable. I'm sorry. No, you're not. You'd do it again in a heartbeat if you thought it was necessary. She couldn't deny it, yes. His mouth crashed into hers. The kiss was brutal, punishing, full of the fear he'd been holding back. His hands moved over her body, stripping away clothes with ruthless efficiency. This wasn't gentle. This was need and anger and possession all tangled together. They didn't make it to the bed. He took her against the wall, rough and desperate, and Alicia met him thrust for thrust. This was how they communicated when words failed, through touch, through passion, through the physicality of their connection. He was telling her without words that she was his, that losing her would destroy him, that he'd burn the world to keep her safe. And she was telling him she wasn't fragile, wasn't afraid, wasn't going to let him fight alone. After they were both breathing hard, sweat slicked and trembling, Min-jun carried her to the bed. She didn't protest and pulled her against his chest. Don't do that again, he murmured against her hair. Can't promise that. I know, but I'm asking anyway. She tilted her head to look at him. I saved 2 people tonight. That has to count for something. It does, and I'm proud of you, and terrified of you, and so fucking in love with you that I can't think straight. He said it simply, matter of fact, like it was obvious. Which is why you're staying in the van for the next operation. Non-negotiable. Min-jun. No, this is the compromise. You were in the field tonight and you did well, and I'm acknowledging that. But the next target is bigger, more dangerous. You stay in the van with triple security or you stay here. Those are your only options. She wanted to argue, but looking at his face, at the fear still lingering beneath the anger, she understood. This was as much as he could give. Pushing further would break something between them. Okay, she said. I'll stay in the van, triple security. He relaxed fractionally. Thank you. But when we go after Choi, when we hit his main compound, I'm there. Right beside you, you promised. Behind me, always behind me, but yes, you'll be there. Good enough. They fell asleep tangled together, both knowing that the next strike would be harder. That Choi would be getting desperate, more dangerous. That every step closer to their goal was a step deeper into violence that couldn't be undone. But for now, in this moment, they had each other. That would have to be enough. The third strike was the weapons depot, a massive warehouse on the industrial outskirts where Choi stockpiled everything his organization needed: guns, ammunition, explosives. Destroying it would cripple his ability to mount any serious defense. Alicia sat in the communications van with Jin, just like she'd promised. But this time, she had 9 guards instead of 6, and the van was positioned 4 blocks away instead of 3. Min-jun wasn't taking any chances. The assault was brutal. Choi had clearly anticipated an attack. The security was triple what intelligence had suggested. Min-jun's team met heavy resistance immediately. Contact south entrance. multiple hostiles, automatic weapons. Team Charlie taking fire, requesting backup. Alicia listened to the chaos, her hands clenched. This was worse than the previous operations. More gunfire, more panic in the voices, more. Minjun's hit, Lieutenant Kim shouted. Shoulder wound still operational, but... Her heart stopped. Jin immediately keyed his radio. Sir, report, are you functional? Fine, Minjun's voice was strained but controlled. Grays, keep advancing. Not fine, he was lying. But there was nothing Alicia could do from 4 blocks away except listen and pray. The assault took 40 minutes. By the end, the warehouse was a smoldering ruin, Choi's entire weapons cache destroyed. But the cost had been higher than previous operations. 2 of Minjun's men seriously wounded, one with a gut shot, one with a shattered leg, both being rushed to the private hospital Jin maintained. When Minjun finally returned to the van, his left shoulder was wrapped in field dressing, blood seeping through. He was pale but standing, his jaw tight with pain he was refusing to acknowledge. Alicia was out of the van before Jin could stop her. How bad? She demanded, her hands immediately going to the bandage. I've had worse. He caught her hands, stilled them. I'm fine. You're bleeding. Not as much as I could be. He glanced at Jin. Get everyone back to the safe house. Medical team standing by for the wounded. The drive back was tense. Alicia sat beside Minjun, her hand in his, watching the blood slowly spread across the bandage. He'd refused additional treatment at the scene, insisted on getting everyone else out first. Stubborn, protective even when he was the one injured. At the safe house, the medical team descended immediately. Minjun waved them toward the 2 seriously wounded men first. Sir, you're also injured. I can wait, they can't. Alicia wanted to argue, but she knew it was pointless. Instead, she followed him to the war room where Jin was already updating the maps. Another blue pin added. Another piece of Choi's empire destroyed. We've got a problem, Jin said, pulling up surveillance footage. This came in 20 minutes ago. The video showed a suburban street, a small house with a modest yard, and men in tactical gear surrounding it. Jin's home. No, Minjun breathed. The camera showed the men entering the house, showed Jin's daughter, a woman in her 30s, terror on her face, being dragged out, showed a little girl, maybe 8 years old, crying for her grandfather. Jin's granddaughter. The video cut to interior of a warehouse basement, Soo-jin and Mina. Both tied to chairs, terrified. A man's voice off camera, say hello to Grandpa. Mina crying, please help us. Soo-jin, Dad, if you're watching this, don't come, don't let them. The video cut to black, then Choi's face filled the screen. Kang Minjun, you've cost me everything, my warehouse, my money, my weapons. So now I take what your brother values most, his daughter, his granddaughter. Come to my compound, alone, trade the girl for them. You have 48 hours, or I start sending pieces. And I'll start with the child. The video ended. Minjun stood frozen, his face carved from ice. Blood was still seeping from his shoulder, but he didn't seem to notice. All his focus was on the screen. Jin himself stood beside him, and for the first time since Alicia had known him, the older man looked truly afraid. My daughter, he whispered. Soo-jin and Mina, she's only 8. We'll get them back. Minjun's voice was absolute certainty. All of them alive. Sir, this is a trap. He wants you to come alone. He wants to. I know what he wants. He wants to take from me what I've taken from him. Minjun turned to face Jin fully. You're my brother. You've been with me for 25 years. Your family is my family, and I protect my family. Alicia watched the exchange, her heart breaking. Jin had never mentioned having a family, had kept them separate, secret, safe from his world, and now they were paying the price for his loyalty. We need to move now, Minjun said, his commander voice back in place despite the blood loss. Full tactical assault. Tomorrow at dawn, we hit the compound with everything we have. Sir, you're wounded. I don't care, we're not waiting for that timer to run down. We go tomorrow, full force. We get Jin's family and we end Choi permanently. Lieutenant Kim appeared in the doorway. The wounded are stabilized. Medical team is asking for you now, sir. Tell them to wait. Minjun was already pulling up blueprints of Choi's compound on the main screen. We need to plan this down to the second. No room for error. Alicia stepped forward. Minjun, you need medical attention. After. Now, or you'll bleed out before we even get to the planning stage. He looked ready to argue, but Jin placed a hand on his shoulder. She's right, 5 minutes, get the wound properly dressed, then we plan. Finally, Minjun nodded. Let the medical team lead him away. Alicia followed, and when they were alone in the medical bay, she watched as they cut away the blood-soaked bandage. The wound was worse than he'd let on. Not just a graze, a through-and-through that had torn muscle. He'd need stitches, antibiotics, proper rest. He'd get none of those things except the stitches. You should have told me it was this bad, she said quietly. Would it have changed anything? No, but I would have worried appropriately. His laugh was sharp, cut short by pain as the doctor began stitching. You're always worrying, might as well give you good reason. She took his hand, held it while the doctor worked. His grip was tight, but he didn't make a sound, just stared at the ceiling and let them put him back together. When it was done, his shoulder was properly bandaged, arm in a sling. The doctor tried to insist on bed rest. Minjun ignored him completely. They returned to the war room. Jin had already started preliminary planning, but he looked up when they entered. How bad? Bad enough that I should be in bed, not bad enough to stop me from getting your family back. Minjun moved to the screens, started marking positions with his good hand. Choi's compound is a fortress. 4 stories, reinforced walls, guard towers at each corner. Estimates put his remaining force at 80 to 100 men. We have 50, Lieutenant Kim said. We'll need all of them, plus external support. Minjun pulled up another screen, showed the Beek family compound. It's time to call in the alliance. You're trusting the Beeks? Alicia asked. No, but I'm using them. They want Choi gone as much as we do. They'll provide additional men, resources, intelligence. And if they double-cross us, his smile was cold. Well, we'll deal with that problem when it arises. The planning took 6 hours. By the end, they had a comprehensive assault plan. Multiple entry points, coordinated strikes, rescue teams specifically assigned to Jin and his family. It was thorough, brutal, and had a decent chance of success. If everything went perfectly. Which it never did. What about me? Alicia asked when they'd covered everything else. Minjun's expression went carefully blank. You stay here. No. Alicia. You promised. You said when we went after Choi I'd be there, you promised. That was before Jin's family was taken. Before I knew how heavily fortified the compound would be. It's too dangerous. Everything's dangerous, that's the point. She moved closer, lowered her voice so only he could hear. You're wounded. Jin's compromised emotionally because it's his family. You need someone you trust at your back. Someone who won't hesitate, that's me. You're not trained for this level of combat. Then I'll stay behind you like you wanted all along. But I'm there, in the compound, not in some van blocks away. They locked eyes. She could see him calculating, weighing risks, trying to find a way to refuse. But they both knew she was right. He was going into this wounded and emotional, and he needed someone he trusted absolutely. 6 bodyguards, he said finally. You stay in the center of the formation at all times. If I give the order to retreat, you go immediately. No arguments, no hesitation. Agreed. And if something happens to me, Nothing's going to happen to you. If something happens to me, you run. Jin has the protocols. Switzerland, new identity, everything you need. Promise me. Alicia wanted to argue, but looking at his face, at the fear and love and desperation, she couldn't. I promise. He pulled her against him with his good arm, buried his face in her hair. I can't lose you. Not now. Not ever. You won't. We're going to get Jin's family back. We're going to kill Choi and we're going to survive this. All of us. You can't promise that. Watch me. They went to bed early that night. Dawn would come too soon. Minjun couldn't sleep, the pain in his shoulder and the weight of tomorrow keeping him awake. Alicia lay beside him, her hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat under her palm. Tell me something, she said into the darkness. What? About my mother. About that night 20 years ago. You've never told me the whole story. He was quiet for a long moment. You sure you want to know? Yes. He shifted, winced at the movement. I was 26, newly in charge of my father's organization after he died. There were people who thought I was too young, too weak. They wanted me dead so they could take over. The Beaks. Among others, they sent 3 men to kill me, professional assassins well-trained. They cornered me in an alley near the docks. I had a gun, but they had me outnumbered and outmaneuvered. I was going to die. Alicia stayed quiet, letting him talk. Then I heard footsteps, turned and saw this woman, pregnant, 8 months along, maybe more. She looked terrified. I thought she'd run. Hoped she'd run because I didn't want her caught in the crossfire. But instead, she picked up the gun one of them had dropped. Her hands were shaking so badly I didn't think she could even aim it. But she did. She did, shot him clean through the chest. 1 shot, 1 kill. Then she turned and ran before the other 2 could even react. By the time I dealt with them, she was gone. And you spent 20 years looking for her. I spent 20 years trying to understand why she'd done it, why she'd risked herself, and you to save a stranger. I wanted to repay the debt, yes. But more than that, I wanted to meet someone that brave again, wanted to tell her that her choice mattered. She knew it mattered. That's why she ran. She knew you'd try to find her, and she didn't want me growing up in your world. Smart woman. She was, and stubborn. I get that from her. Minjun's arm tightened around her. You're just like her in other ways, too. That thing you did tonight, going into the building to save those hostages, that's exactly what she would have done. Seen a problem, fixed it, dealt with the consequences later. Is that why you're so terrified of losing me? Because you already lost her? Partly, but mostly because losing you would end me in a way losing her didn't. She was a beautiful moment in my past. You're my entire future. Alicia shifted to look at him. In the darkness, she could barely make out his features, but she could feel the intensity of his gaze. I love you, she said, simple, honest. I know this started as a debt in a forced marriage, but it's not that anymore. It hasn't been for a while. No, it hasn't. His hand came up to cup her face. I love you too, more than I thought I was capable of loving anyone, which is why tomorrow terrifies me. We'll be okay. You can't know that. I can hope it. He kissed her then, soft, tender, full of all the things he couldn't say. And she kissed him back, pouring every ounce of her certainty into it. Tomorrow would be brutal. Tomorrow might end with one or both of them dead. But tonight, they had this. They made love slowly, carefully because of his injury. Every touch was deliberate, meaningful. He mapped her body like he was trying to memorize it, like he needed to remember every curve and scar in case tomorrow took her away. And she did the same, her hands gentle on his skin, avoiding the bandaged shoulder but exploring everything else. Promise me something, he murmured against her throat. Anything. If I don't make it tomorrow. Don't say that. If I don't make it, don't waste time mourning. Take the money, the resources, and build the life your mother wanted for you. Find someone better, someone who can give you normal. There's no one better, there's no normal, there's just you. She pulled back to look at him. And if you don't make it tomorrow, I'll burn Choi's entire organization to ashes myself. Then I'll mourn you properly. But I'm not moving on. You're it for me. His smile was sad. You say that now. I'll say it forever. They fell asleep tangled together, neither willing to let go, because tomorrow would demand everything from them. Tomorrow would test every promise they'd made, every bond they'd formed. Tomorrow would decide if they survived, or if Choi's vengeance would be the end of them both. Dawn came too quickly. The assault team assembled in the safe house courtyard. 50 of Minjun's men, plus 20 additional fighters provided by the Beak family. Body armor, automatic weapons, enough firepower to level a city block. All of it organized around one simple objective: get Jin's family out alive and end Choi permanently. Alicia stood in the center of her 6-man security detail, wearing a tactical vest that Minjun had personally fitted. It was probably overkill. She wasn't planning to be anywhere near the actual fighting, but it made him feel better, so she wore it. Jin approached, looking older than she'd ever seen him. The weight of having his family in danger had aged him overnight. Thank you, he said quietly, for doing this, for risking everything. Your family, Alicia said. We protect family. He smiled, brief and tired. Halima would be proud of you. Before she could respond, Minjun's voice cut across the courtyard. Listen up. You all know the plan. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we don't stop until Choi is dead and our people are safe. Team Alpha with me, second floor assault. Team Bravo, basement rescue. Team Charlie, perimeter security. Alicia's detail stays with Team Charlie unless I personally give the order otherwise. He met Alicia's eyes across the courtyard. A silent conversation. Be safe. Come back to me. I love you. She nodded, the same message reflected back. The convoy rolled out at 5 a.m. 10 vehicles, 70 fighters, enough ammunition to fight a small war. Because that's exactly what this was. A war. The final battle between Minjun's organization and what remained of Choi's. One of them would walk away from this. The other would be destroyed. Alicia watched the city blur past from the back of the armored SUV. She'd grown up in this city, spent her whole life here. But looking at it now, it felt foreign. Like she'd crossed some invisible line and could never come back to the person she'd been before Minjun. Before the debt, before the violence, before love had gotten tangled up with possession and protection. The compound appeared on the horizon. 4 stories of concrete and steel, guard towers at each corner just like Minjun had described. Lights were on, they were expected. Choi knew they were coming. Good, let him know, let him be afraid. The convoy stopped half a mile away. Final preparations, team assignments confirmed, weapons checked. Minjun appeared at Alicia's vehicle. His shoulder was freshly bandaged, arm still in a sling. He looked pale but determined. Last chance to stay here, he said. Not happening. I had to try. He reached through the window, his hand finding hers. Stay behind me, always. Always, she echoed. He kissed her knuckles, quick, possessive, then moved to the front of the convoy, raised his good hand. Let's end this. The assault began at 5:15 a.m. Explosives blew the front gate. The convoy surged forward. Gunfire erupted immediately, Choi's men positioned on the walls and the towers behind cover. The air filled with the sound of automatic weapons, of shouted orders, of men dying. Alicia's security detail moved her through the chaos with practiced efficiency. They'd trained for this urban assault, high-threat environment, VIP protection. She stayed in the center of their formation, hand on her own weapon but not drawing it. Not yet. Team Alpha, Minjun's team, hit the front entrance. She caught glimpses of him through the smoke and chaos, moving like violence incarnate despite his injury. His men followed, laying down covering fire, advancing methodically. Team Bravo split off toward the basement. Jin led that team himself. Nothing would stop him from reaching his family. Team Charlie established the perimeter, and Alicia's detail took up position near the vehicles. Protected but present. She could see the battle, could hear it, but wasn't in the immediate line of fire. All team status. Minjun's voice came through her earpiece. Team Bravo, moving to basement access. Team Charlie, perimeter secure. Team Alpha, first floor breach successful. Heavy resistance, continuing advance. The battle raged. Alicia watched through binoculars as Minjun's team cleared the first floor room by room. Watched as bodies fell, both Choi's men and some of theirs. The casualties were mounting, but they were advancing. Then Team Bravo, we've located the hostages. Jin's family is alive. Repeat, hostages are alive and secure. Relief flooded through her. Jin's daughter and granddaughter were safe. Team Alpha, second floor breach. Minjun's voice was steady despite the sound of gunfire behind it. Heavy resistance, multiple casualties, continuing. An explosion, loud enough that Alicia felt it even half a mile away. Minjun, she shouted into her mic. Static. Team Alpha, report. Lieutenant Kim's voice urgent. More static, then finally, Alpha 1 here, explosive trap, third floor stairwell. We have 3 wounded, 1 critical. Minjun is. I'm fine. His voice came through, rough but functional. Continue the assault, we're almost there. But Alicia had heard the pain in that brief transmission. He was hurt worse than he was admitting. The shoulder wound had probably reopened, maybe new injuries from the blast. And he was still advancing. Of course he was. Her security detail leader keyed his radio. Ma'am, Team Alpha is taking heavy casualties. Recommendation is we extract to safe. No, we stay. Alicia's voice was firm. Minjun gave me 6 guards. I'm using them. Take me to the building. Ma'am, that's against. That's in order. My husband is bleeding to death on the 3rd floor. I'm not sitting here while he fights alone. The guard hesitated, then clearly making a decision that would probably get him fired. Yes, ma'am, stay in formation. We move fast. They crossed the distance to the compound, using the chaos as cover. Bodies everywhere, Choi's men mostly, but some of theirs too. The building was a war zone, smoke and blood, and the acrid smell of gunpowder. They entered through the breach Team Alpha had created. First floor was already secured, bodies cleared, Minjun's men holding position. Second floor was active combat, gunfire echoing from above. Third floor was where they found him. Minjun was standing in the middle of a hallway filled with corpses. His sling was gone, both arms functional despite the blood soaking through his bandages. He had a gun in each hand, and he was moving toward the final stairwell with lethal precision. He saw her and stopped dead. Alicia, what the fuck are you doing here? Saving your stubborn ass. I gave you 6 guards to keep you safe, not to escort you into a combat zone. They're doing both. She moved closer, her own guards fanning out to secure the hallway. You're bleeding again. I'll bleed later, right now I'm. A door burst open. Guards poured out. Minjun spun, started firing, but there were too many. Alicia's security detail immediately engaged, their formation closing around her, weapons out. The hallway erupted into chaos. Alicia stayed in the center of her guards, exactly where she was supposed to be. Watched them work with professional efficiency. No wasted movement, every shot counted, perfect coordination. They weren't just protecting her. They were eliminating threats. When the silence fell, 8 more of Choi's men were dead. None of her guards were even wounded. Minjun crossed to her, fury and relief warring on his face. You were supposed to stay at the perimeter. And you were supposed to wait for medical attention before storming a building. We both made choices. He looked ready to argue, but Lieutenant Kim's voice came through the radio. Sir, fourth floor is clear except for Choi's personal office. Copy, I'm on my way up. Minjun looked at Alicia. You stay here. Not a chance. Alicia. We finish this together, you promised. They locked eyes. She could see him calculating, trying to find a way to refuse. But they both knew this was it. The final confrontation. And she'd earned her place here through blood and stubbornness and love. Behind me, he said finally. Your guards stay with you. One wrong move and they extract you immediately. Agreed. They climbed to the fourth floor together. Minjun first, Alicia behind him with her security detail surrounding her. The stairwell was corpse-littered, evidence of the path Minjun had carved getting this far. The fourth floor was eerily quiet. One hallway, one door at the end, Choi's office. Minjun's remaining team, maybe 20 men, some wounded but all functional, was positioned outside. Jin stood among them, his face drawn. Beside him were two women, his daughter Soo-jin, traumatized but alive, and his granddaughter Mina, crying softly. Status? Minjun asked. Choi's inside, alone as far as we can tell. Lieutenant Kim gestured to the door. He's waiting for you. Of course he is. Minjun checked his weapons, his jaw tight with pain and exhaustion. This is it, final play. He wants to go out like a legend instead of hunted dog. Sir, you're in no condition. I'm functional enough to end him. Minjun glanced back at Alicia. Stay here with Jin's family until I... No, Alicia stepped forward. I'm there when you kill him, you promised. Alicia, please, let me do this one thing without worrying about you. Then don't worry. Just trust me to stay behind you, to follow your lead, to be exactly where you've trained me to be. She moved closer, her voice dropping. He took my uncle. He destroyed my mother's grave. He tortured Maria. This is my vengeance too. Minjun studied her face, saw the determination there, the certainty. Finally he nodded. Behind me, always. Always. He turned to her security detail. You 6, formation around her. If anything happens to me, you get her out immediately. Understand? Yes, sir. Minjun opened the door. The office was massive. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, expensive furniture, everything designed to project power and wealth. And in the center, behind a desk that probably cost more than most people made in a year, sat Choi Di-ho. He looked almost calm, like he'd accepted this was the end and was just waiting to see how it played out. Kang Minjun, he said, his voice smooth. You made it. I'm impressed. Most of my men thought the explosives would kill you. They didn't. Clearly, Choi's eyes shifted to Alicia. And you brought the merchandise. How thoughtful. Minjun's gun came up. Call her that again, and I start shooting pieces off you. Fair enough. What should I call her? Your wife, your obsession, your weakness. Call her untouchable, because that's what she is. Choi laughed. Untouchable, right. That's why she's standing in my office, surrounded by my city in a building I've controlled for 15 years. Very untouchable. Your city is burning, your organization is destroyed, your men are dead. All you have left is that deactivation code. Minjun's voice was cold. Give it to me and I'll make your death quick. And if I don't, then I start with your kneecaps and work my way up. Your choice. Choi considered this. Then he pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, turned it around to show them. A code, 8 digits. Password to access it is 0815. My daughter's birthday. The daughter you killed 3 years ago in a raid on my western warehouse. Minjun's expression didn't change. Collateral damage happens in war. Yes, it does. Choi set the phone down. Which is why I'm going to enjoy watching you suffer when I... He moved fast, reaching for something under the desk, but Alicia was faster. She'd seen the movement before Minjun had, saw Choi's hand going for what was probably a weapon or a trigger, and she reacted exactly the way Minjun had trained her. drew her weapon, aimed, fired. The bullet hit Choi's hand, shattering bone. He screamed the weapon, a detonator falling to the floor. Lieutenant Kim immediately grabbed it, examined it. Dead man's switch. He was going to blow the building. Of course he was. Min-jun crossed to the desk. Min-jun pocketed the phone. Then he looked at Choi, who was cradling his shattered hand, blood pouring between his fingers. "This is the part where I kill you," Min-jun said, "but I think I'll let someone else have that honor." He stepped aside, gestured to Alicia. "She's earned it." Alicia moved forward, her security detail moving with her. She stood in front of Choi, gun raised, and felt nothing but cold certainty. This was the man who tried to buy her, who'd tortured Maria, who'd killed her uncle, who'd destroyed her mother's grave. This was the end. "Any last words?" she asked. Choi looked up at her, his face twisted with pain and hate. "You're just like me now, a killer. You think you're better because you love him. You're not, you're just another monster." Alicia considered this. "Maybe, but I'm a monster who protects what's mine. You're just a monster who takes." She aimed at his kneecap, pulled the trigger. The scream was satisfying. "That's for my uncle." Second kneecap. "That's for my mother." He was writhing now, gasping. "Please. You tortured Maria for hours. You can handle a few more minutes." But Min-jun's hand on her shoulder stopped her. "Alicia, he's not worth it, end it." She looked back at him, saw the understanding in his eyes, the permission. Turned back to Choi, raised the gun to his head. "This is for everyone you took from me." Pulled the trigger. Choi's body slumped, dead. Silence filled the office. Alicia stood over the body, gun still smoking, her hand on her stomach where she could feel the first flutters of nausea that had been plaguing her for days. Where their baby was growing. She'd killed a man while pregnant with Min-jun's child, had crossed a line she could never uncross, had become exactly what this world demanded, fierce, ruthless, willing to destroy to protect what mattered. Min-jun was beside her in an instant, pulling her against him despite his injuries. "It's over. It's finally over." "Is it?" "Yes, his organization is destroyed. His men are dead or scattered. There's no one left to challenge us." "What about the Beaks?" "They'll fall in line. After this display, they know better than to cross us." His hand came up to cup her face, turning her to look at him. "You did well. You were magnificent." "I just killed a man." "You executed a monster. There's a difference." Was there? Alicia wasn't sure anymore. But looking at Min-jun, at the pride and love in his eyes, she decided it didn't matter. She'd made her choice. This was who she was now. Jin's voice came through the radio. "Sir, building is secure. All hostages are safe. Requesting permission to extract." "Granted, full extraction. Get everyone out before the authorities arrive." They left Choi's body where it fell. Let the building burn with him inside when the explosives they'd planted went off 15 minutes later. By the time they were back at the safe house, the news was already reporting a massive fire at an industrial complex, cause unknown, casualties uncertain. The official story would be an accident. The unofficial story, the one that would spread through the criminal underworld, was that Kang Min-jun had destroyed Choi Di-ho's empire in 2 weeks and ended the man himself without mercy. A message, a warning. Don't touch what's his. 3 days later, a delivery truck arrived at the Beak family compound. The guards approached cautiously, opened the back. Found 6 heads packed in ice. Choi's top lieutenants, all killed during the assault. A note was attached to the cooler in Min-jun's handwriting. "This is what happens when you threaten what's mine. Our alliance stands. Don't give me reason to end it. MJ." In the Beak family conference room, Yuna stared at the photos of the heads, her face pale. "He wasn't this brutal before," she said quietly. Her father, Beak Di-young, studied the note. "He is now because of her." Should we be concerned? Only if we're stupid enough to cross him again. Young set the note down. Send a gift, something significant. Make sure every family in this city knows Kang Min-jun's wife is untouchable because he'll burn the world for her. Yuna nodded slowly. We made the right choice, staying on his side. Yes, love makes monsters of men, daughter, and Kang Min-jun loves that woman more than his own life. He gestured to the photos, which makes her the most dangerous person in this city. The hospital room was quiet. Alicia lay in the bed, freshly showered, wearing a hospital gown with an ultrasound wand pressed against her stomach. The technician moved it slowly, searching until a heartbeat, fast, strong, perfect. There, the technician said, smiling. Healthy heartbeat. Based on the measurements, I'd say you're about 7 weeks along. 7 weeks. Alicia had been pregnant during the warehouse assault, during the money laundering operation, during the final confrontation with Choi. Had killed a man while carrying Min-jun's child. Min-jun sat beside her, his injured shoulder properly bandaged now, his hand gripping hers. He was staring at the screen like he'd never seen anything more miraculous. He couldn't finish. Our baby, Alicia said softly. That's our baby. His eyes were wet. I can't believe we made it. I can't believe you're both safe. We're fighters, all 3 of us. The technician left them alone with a print of the ultrasound. Min-jun held it like it was made of glass, studying the tiny shape that would become their child. Halima, he said suddenly. What? If it's a girl, we name her Halima after your mother. Alicia felt tears prick her eyes. And if it's a boy? Then we figure something out together. But I think it's a girl. I think your mother is watching over her. You believe in that, in spirits? I believe your mother saved my life so I could save yours, so we could make this. He touched the ultrasound gently. I believe in debts being paid and circles being completed, and I believe this baby is our chance to do better, to be better. We just killed dozens of people. To protect our family, that's different. Was it? Alicia still wasn't sure. But looking at the ultrasound, at the tiny heartbeat that represented their future, she decided it didn't matter. They'd done what was necessary, survived, won. Now they got to live with the consequences. And with each other. 6 months later. The penthouse was transformed. Baby supplies everywhere, the cold marble warmed by soft rugs and pastel colors. Photos on the walls. Alicia and Min-jun at their vow renewal, Jin with his family, Maria at the opening of the Survivors Foundation Alicia had started. Life built from the ashes of violence. Alicia sat on the couch, 9 months pregnant, her belly enormous. She was reading a pregnancy book, making notes in the margin, when Min-jun arrived home. He crossed to her immediately, kissed her, then kissed her belly. How are my girls? Your daughter is using my ribs as a punching bag. He laughed rare, genuine, and pressed his hand to her stomach, felt the kick, strong like her mother. Or stubborn like her father. Jin appeared from the kitchen. He lived with them now, his family nearby but separate. A grandfather preparing to become a great-grandfather figure to their child. Dinner's ready, and yes, I made the kimchi mild. You're spoiling me, Alicia said, struggling to stand. Min-jun immediately helped her, his hands careful on her waist. Someone has to. This one just scowls protectively. I don't scowl. Jin and Alicia exchanged looks. Yes, you do. Dinner was peaceful, normal almost. They talked about the foundation, 30 women helped this month. About Jin's granddaughter Mina, who wanted to meet the baby as soon as it was born. About plans for the nursery. Not about the empire Min-jun ran. Not about the violence that had brought them here, just life. After dinner, Alicia's water broke. The panic was immediate and total. Min-jun, who'd faced down assassins without blinking, turned pale. Okay, Hospital we need, where's the bag? You packed it last week, it's by the door. Alicia was remarkably calm despite the contractions starting. Breathe, Min-jun. I'm breathing, you breathe. Jin was already on the phone alerting the hospital. The suite is ready, I'm driving. Everyone else get in the car. The drive was a blur. Min-jun held Alicia's hand, his own shaking. You're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. I know. I'm terrified. I know that too. They made it to the hospital. The private suite Min-jun had reserved months ago. The medical team he'd personally vetted. Everything planned, controlled, perfect. Until the moment they placed their daughter in Alicia's arms, and every plan, every strategy, every carefully maintained control shattered into pure, overwhelming love. She was perfect. Dark skin, black hair, tiny fists waving. When she opened her eyes, they were dark like Min-jun's. "Hello, Halima," Alicia whispered. "We've been waiting for you." Min-jun stood beside the bed, tears streaming down his face, staring at his daughter like she was a miracle, which she was. "Can I?" He couldn't finish. "Of course." Alicia handed their daughter to him. Watch this dangerous man, this killer, this protector, this love of her life, hold their baby with such careful reverence it broke her heart and put it back together simultaneously. "Hello, Halima," he said, his voice rough. "I'm your father, and I'm going to protect you always, just like I protect your mother, just like I promised your grandmother I would." The baby made a small sound, wrapped her tiny hand around his finger. Min-jun broke completely, sat in the chair beside the bed, holding their daughter, crying openly. Jin appeared in the doorway, didn't enter, just watched. This was their moment. But quietly to himself he whispered, "The debt is paid, old friend. Halima's daughter lived, she's happy, she's fierce. And she's given him a daughter named for you, life from death, hope from vengeance, it's beautiful." 2 years later. The penthouse was chaos in the best way. Halima, now a toddler with her mother's stubbornness and her father's intensity, was running circles around the living room, giggling as Min-jun chased her. "I'm going to catch you." "No more giggling." Alicia watched from the couch, 7 months pregnant with their second child, another girl. They were naming her Su-jin after Jin's daughter in honor of the family that had become theirs. The foundation was thriving. 50 women helped this month, with more coming. Maria ran it now, healed enough to channel her trauma into helping others. She and Alicia met weekly, 2 survivors building something good from the ashes of horror. Min-jun's empire was stable. The Beak Alliance held strong through fear and respect in equal measure. No one challenged them. No one dared. Because everyone knew, Kang Min-jun would burn the world for his family. And his family, Alicia. Halima, the baby growing inside her, Jin and his people, was everything. Halima shrieked with delight as Min-jun caught her, scooped her up. "Caught you." Again. He laughed, a sound that had become common in their home, and set her down to run again. Alicia's phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. She almost ignored it, but something made her open it. A photo, her mother's grave newly restored, the headstone perfect, flowers planted, beautiful. And a message, the debt is paid, she would be proud. A friend. Alicia stared at it for a long moment. Then she looked at Min-jun playing with their daughter, at the life they'd built from violence and vengeance and love. Her mother had pulled the trigger to save a stranger 20 years ago, had spent 20 years running from the consequences, had died still protecting Alicia from a world she knew would be dangerous. But that world had given Alicia Min-jun, had given her Halima, had given her purpose and power and a family worth fighting for. The debt was paid. All of them were free. If you've made it this far, you know Alicia and Min-jun's story was worth every bullet, every tear, every moment of vengeance. From forced marriage to real love, from victim to queen, from debt to family. They fought for their happy ending and won. Drop a comment. Did Choi get what he deserved? Should there be a part 3 about Halima growing up in her parents' world? Are you team age gap romance or team they should never have worked but somehow did? Subscribe to Echo Taili's Story TV because dark romance, dangerous love, and fierce men protecting their families is what we do. Hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss what comes next.